Recording in progress.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Shalom Aleichem. We're continuing our weekly Shiurim. This week is going to be it's tonight, obviously, Tuesday night. Shivat Tammuz. Shiurim are dedicated by the Zakheim family, Leilui Nishmas. They're Dr. Zakheim's father and mother, and Shlomo Eliezer ben Rabbi Yaakov Zakheim. Also, the Shiurim are dedicated by Rabbi Isaac Yaselovsky, Leilui Nishmas, Shabsi ben Yitzchak Isaac, V'ganei den Temenuchasai, should be a male Tziyasha for his whole family. Tonight's shir is dedicated by my dear friend, Rabbi Gedalia Schwartz, who's been disseminating the Shiurim for well over 10 years. It should be his chus for his family, for bracha v'hatzlacha, baruch nias v'gashmias, shefa bracha v'hatzlacha. You know, it's very good that the shir is in the shul. First of all, you know the rules here. The house rules are, you can't have a phone on you. I don't care if it's broken, it's dead, the battery's out, you can't have it on you. You put it in that thing and you lock it up. I want to tell you a very interesting thing. You know, the Chidah says that a shul is like a mikvah. In Parshas Balak it says, Kinechalim nitayu ka'halim ki'nata Hashem. So the Gemara says that just like a mikvah is matayr a person, so too a Beis HaKnesses is matayr a person. So the Chidah says that's very good, because a mikvah you don't need kavana. If somebody pushes you in a mikvah, you're tahar even without kavana. So too if you come to a shul with no kavana at all, it's matayr you. But it's only if you're toivel, beli sheretz biyadai. If you have sheretz biyadai, it doesn't do anything to come into the shul. So don't be embarrassed, stand up right now and put it in that thing and lock it up. Or don't ever do it again. Not in this shul and not in any shul. If there's no point, seriously, there's no point. If you want to come to a shul, it has to be without a phone. So that's you're fasting today for what? Number one, you lose at least 2 pounds. That's if you don't eat anything later tonight. But besides that, you're supposed to do tshuva. The number one thing is to make sure that we want the Beis Hamikdash back. But you have to show respect to a Beis HaKnesses. Okay, now Yud Zayin Tammuz. Last year, we came up with a very amazing insight into Shivat Tammuz. Actually, Rabbi Isaac helped me remember something we said many years ago. You know, I always wondered, one of the greatest tragedies in Jewish history is the tragedy of false Mashiachs. Many, many disasters have happened through the false Mashiach. Starting with going back to the Chumash, when Jews wanted to go into Eretz Yisrael in the times of the Mapilim. And I always wondered, you know, we fast for so many tragedies, why don't we fast for the false Mashiach? Millions of Jews have been killed because of false Mashiach. So why don't we fast for it? And the answer is we do. We do. Because Rabbi Chanan Wasserman says there are 2 main averos in the history of the Jewish people, Mechiras Yosef and the Chet HaEgal. And because of these 2 averos, we're punished in every generation. Because of Mechiras Yosef, we're punished with blood libels. And because of the Chet HaEgal, we're punished with false Mashiachs. In every generation there's a false Mashiach. So what day do you think we would fast for the tragedies of the false Mashiach? Shivat Tammuz, that's the day of the Chet HaEgal. So today, if you want to know, one of the main reasons we're fasting is for the tragedy of false Mashiachs. In fact, I got who remembers, who is the biggest, one of the greatest fighters against Shabtai Tzvi, the first fighter against Shabtai Tzvi? Who remembers from last year? Rabbi Yaakov Sasportas. I got a message today from my friend in Amsterdam, Rabbi Siegel, that he remembered the shir, and he made sure to go to the kever of Rabbi Yaakov Sasportas today on Shivat Tammuz. Because remembered, we learned that Shivat Tammuz is fasting for the tragedy of the false Mashiach. So we're in the middle of this saga, the saga of Rabbi Shlomo Molcho. If you remember, the Magen Avram quoted Rabbi Shlomo Molcho regarding how to tie the tzitzis. We tie the tzitzis 7, 8, 11, 13. Rabbi Shlomo Molcho will tie his tzitzis 10, 5, 6, 5. Yud Kei Vav Kei. So presumably, if the Magen Avram is quoting Rabbi Shlomo Molcho, that means he was a great personality. However, we learned last week he grew up. His parents were forcibly converted to Christianity, and he grew up as a practicing Christian. but he knew deep down he was a Jew. He grew up, his name was Diego Perez. He had a burning desire to discover more about his roots, and comes to the scene David Haruveni, a short black man riding on a white horse. He said his brother was the king of Shevet Ruvain on the other side of the, other side of that river. And I don't know if he said this about Yan, but and he's here. They got audience with the king of Portugal. They got audience with the Pope, and the plan was they were going to join forces with the Christian world and free Jerusalem and Israel from Muslim infidels. Now, Rav Shlomo Molcho, however, was not countenanced by David Haruveni. David Haruveni was very afraid that if the Pope would find out that he's engendering desires in David Haruveni to come closer to Judaism, that the Pope would kill him. So Rav Shlomo Molcho felt that he was being pushed away because he didn't have a bris milah. So what did he do? He took matters into his own hands and he circumcised himself, and miraculously, even though he was gushing blood, he had a miraculous recovery. However, he is starting to raise the ire of some of the Chachamim. So for instance, after the circumcision of Rav David Molcho, he begins to have very profound visions. Now, he had visions before. He had divine revelation even before his Milah, but now it's like coming fast and furious. And he has a vision that there will be a massive flood in Rome. He has another vision, there will be catastrophic earthquake in Portugal. And he tells the Jewish community about this, and he tells the world about this. Meanwhile, where did he go to hang out? He went to hang out in the gates of Rome, because Chazal tell us that Mashiach will reveal itself in the gates of Rome. So that's where he's hanging out. After a little bit, and this is where tonight picks up, he removes his disguise and he joins forces with David Haruveni, and he goes to the Pope, and a lot of Jews are after him. A lot of Jews are suspicious that this is not going to end well. Usually, when there's Messianic fervor, it never ends well. Usually it ends in disaster. That's the verdict of Jewish history. Now, he's predicting natural disaster in Rome, flooding in Rome. He's predicting earthquake in Portugal. So, at the very least, Rav Shlomo Molcho has to get out of Rome. So he goes to Venice. And he's darshaning in Venice, and he's revered by the community. In the year Reish Tzadi Aleph, that's 1531, all of a sudden Rome floods. Thousands die, but only one Jew died because they actually listened to Rav Shlomo Molcho. And now all of a sudden they're starting to feel that this man has something going, because he predicted one of the most shocking floods in the history of the world, and he saved many lives. And he then went around to be masakin, that every Monday and Thursday, Jewish communities everywhere need to start fasting because Mashiach is coming. And they did start fasting. Actually, if you look in some of the authoritative Siddurim, like the Siddur of Hertz Schatz, that's like the Siddur that was used in Germany. There on V'hu, every Monday and Thursday we say the V'hu, your favorite part of davening. Everybody loves V'hu. Somehow, this I'll never get, Sfard, which has more words in every bracha than Ashkenaz, somehow they have half as many words in V'hu. I don't know what happened to the V'hu. That's one of the great mysteries. Ashkenaz has a doubly long V'hu Yichaber Avain. Although most shuls are makbid to say it in the amount of time that it would take, as if it would be a Nusach Sfard shul. Anyway, in the Siddur of Hertz Schatz, he brings that one of the reasons why Monday and Thursday is so significant is because it was established by Rav Shlomo Molcho to fast on Monday and Thursday in anticipation of the coming of Mashiach. Okay, now, just as a point of interest, Shlomo Molcho has a big enemy. His enemy was Rabbi Yaakov Mantino. Rabbi Yaakov Mantino was a chacham, he was a doctor, he was a professor in University of Rome, and he's the personal physician of the Pope. He's also on the Bezdin of the Kehillah in Rome. And Rav Yaakov Mantino did not like Rav Shlomo Molcho. He was very suspicious of him. He thought that this would not end well. He also, this Rav Yaakov Mantino, had another enemy named Rabbi Yehuda Chalfan. And Rav Yaakov Mantino hated Rabbi Yehuda Chalfan so much that he wanted to leave Venice and move to Rome. But he remembered that Rav Shlomo Molcho predicted a terrible flood in Rome. And Rav Shlomo Molcho warned him, don't go to Rome. You're going to die. And sure enough, he didn't go to Rome. And his life was saved. So people said, maybe you should make up with Rav Shlomo Molcho. He saved your life. He said, he saved my life. I don't care that he knows the future. I don't care that he has revelation. It's witchcraft. It's black magic. By the way, even today, Rabbi Yaakov Hillel writes that most of this stuff, even if it works, is black magic. It's not from the Koyach Tahara. Anyway, Rav Shlomo Molcho and Rav David Ruveni, they're joining forces, and now their plan is they're going to go to Germany. And what are they going to do in Germany? They're going to go to the Kaiser Karl, and they're going to tell him their plans of joining forces with European continent to free Israel and Jerusalem from the Muslim infidels. Now, does anybody know historically, we're talking now the year 1331. Who was the renowned Jewish activist for the communities of Germany? His name was Rabbi Yosef Ish Rosheim. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yuzelman Ish Rosheim. He was a famous askan for the Jewish community of Germany, and he was not excited that Shlomo Molcho and David Ruveni were going to go to the Caesar Karl and tell him that they're going to join forces and attack Turkey's occupying Israel. He figured this would not end well. It would not be good for the Jewish community. He begged Shlomo Molcho, do not go to Caesar Karl. This is bad news. They wouldn't listen. So Rabbi Yuzelman Ish Rosheim, he left the area. He left Regensburg because he knew this was not going to end well. And sure enough, the Caesar. Now, if you want to know what Rabbi Yuzelman of Rosheim looked like, you have a picture on page 2. I did not draw this picture. I personally never saw him. I don't know. I can't tell you whether he looked like this, but this is the picture that is brought in the Sefer Meshichei HaSheker U'Misnagdehem, that has a haskama from Reb Shlomo Wolbe. And Carl says, "Are you out of your mind? We're gonna you? Who's you? Oh, me? My brother has 30,000 Reubenites, on the other side of the river. He's a fairy tale. What are you smoking? What are you talking about?" He then imprisoned Shlomo Molcho and David HaRuveni. Now, here's something that's amazing. Let's go back for a moment to when Shlomo Molcho was in Rome. When he was in Rome, the Pope tried to do everything in his power not to give Shlomo Molcho over to the Inquisition. But the pressure from the community was so strong that the Pope had no choice but to give Shlomo Molcho over to the Inquisition. Now, when you're given over to the Inquisition, if you're lucky, they throw you in the fire. You should be so lucky that they throw you straight in the fire. Usually what they do is they have this machine that's like a round machine, and they put you backward on your back with your hand tied on one side and your feet on the other, and they crank it, and they had all kinds of terrible tortures. They would stick things up your nails. Those were the good kinds of tortures that they would do. And as Shlomo Molcho was about to be thrown in the fire, where'd he go? Where is he? They look in the fire. It's Shlomo Molcho. No, it's not him! They made a mistake. They threw the wrong guy in the fire. There was a guy who looked just like him. And now the Pope's looking at this, and the people are looking at this, and if before they thought he was a prophet and he was a miracle worker, nobody in history ever escaped the clutches of the Inquisition, and here he is, he's standing there, smiling, and his lookalike is there in the fire. He's untouchable. He's untouchable. So now he's a miracle worker, he's supernatural. Is he Mashiach? But the Caesar of Germany had enough with him. He gave him over to the Inquisition, and they put a rein in his mouth. You know, a resen, they put a rein in his mouth. Why? Because they were afraid that he was going to say some kind of shemois in the fire and get out of it. Just as he's in the fire, a word comes from one of the officers, take the rein out of his mouth. We have a message from the king. So they take the rein out of Shlomo Molcho's mouth. He's standing there. He's about to be consumed by the fire. And they said, one last chance. If you return to Christianity, we're going to take you out and you will live. Now, by the way, many false Mashiachs in the final moment converted. But Shlomo Molcho says, this is the religion that I started with, and my heart is embittered that I started with Christianity. Do with me as you please. My soul will now return to my true Father in heaven. And Reb Shlomo Molcho died al Kiddush Hashem. That was his end. He died a martyr's death. What was the reaction of the Jewish community? So in the Sefer Shashal HaKabbalah he brings, he died with a rein in his mouth. They were afraid that he was going to use some shemois. Va'adayin yesh Yehudim rabim shetoyim acharav shehu chai. Many Jews, they still thought he was alive. They saw he was died. When did death ever stop people from thinking somebody was alive? When has death ever stopped anybody from thinking that somebody is no longer alive? Death is very overrated. Why does death mean somebody's not alive? Many Jews thought he was still alive. They even thought he would return every Shabbos Kodesh to Tzfas. Some even said that he prophesied over his death. And he said, Avol Hashemim Anachnu. In this pasuk there are 5 words. They all begin with the letter Aleph, which is a remez to the year 5000 of the Jewish calendar, which is the year 1332. He died at 32 years old. (1530). In any event, how do we view Reb Shlomo Molcho? What has been the view of Reb Shlomo Molcho among the Jewish people? Now, David HaRuvaini was not killed by the Inquisition. He was able to flee, and he died isolated from the Jewish community. But what is the opinion of Klal Yisrael on Shlomo Molcho? Is he Rebbe Shlomo Molcho? Is he Hakadosh Shlomo Molcho? As we mentioned last week, he's quoted in the Magen Avraham. So let's begin with the Sefer Maggid Mesharim. Maggid Mesharim was written by, we're not exactly sure who wrote the Maggid Mesharim, but the Maggid Mesharim is, tradition has it was written by Rabbi Yosef Karoi, the Beis Yosef. And it's all the Chidushim that the Beis Yosef had a Maggid. And these are the Chidushim that the Maggid, the angel, told the Beis Yosef. Last week we learned that Shlomo Molcho's Rebbe also had a Maggid, Rabbi Yosef Taitichek. But his Maggid spoke to him in Hebrew, and Rabbi Yosef Kar's Maggid spoke to him in Aramaic, and that was considered a higher level. The Maggid tells Rabbi Yosef Karai, Tizka lekadsha shemi barabim. You will merit to sanctify my name barabim. Kach shloimoi b'chirai zacha de'iskarei malchai. Just like Shlomo, my chosen one, was zoicha to sanctify my name. And that's why he was called Malchai, the king. He was anointed with all kinds of anointings. You too will die al Kiddush Hashem. So the angel told Rav Shlomo Molcho, that Rabbi Yosef Karoi, that he will merit to die al Kiddush Hashem. Now, if the angel is telling Rabbi Yosef Karoi that he will merit to die al Kiddush Hashem, obviously, Rabbi Shlomo Molcho is considered a holy tzaddik. Here's the first problem. The first problem is, did Rabbi Yosef Karoi die al Kiddush Hashem? He died in his bed. So, what happened to the promise of the Malach? So this is like an age-old question. What happened to to the promise of the Maggid to Rabbi Yosef Karai? So we have two answers. One answer, the Belzer Rebbe. In the Sefer Mahari Belz, Chelek Beis, page Reish, it says, Sha'alti, Bahadi Yisuf Sefer Maggid Sharim, that the Maggid told the Beis Yosef, you can die Achidash Hashem. V'loi matzinu b'shom makom, Beis Yosef yitoikad Achidash Hashem. Says the Belzer Rebbe, Chalila, the Maggid spoke the truth. The Beis Yosef was consumed al Kiddush Hashem. When? Every single day. When he said Kriya Shema, he imagined, like the halacha requires. You know this halacha? You have to say Shema, be'ema, u'be'yira, bereses, u'vaziyah. Every tinus, we come back to this. You have to say Shema with fear, with reverence, with trembling, with shaking. Why? Because when you say Shema, you imagine that if ever put to the ultimate test, you'd give up your life al Kiddush Hashem. By the way, I found today in the Sefer Besoid Yishamar of Elia Weintraub, who is a great Mekubal, he brings that Rabbi Chanan Wasserman asked this question to the Chavetz Chaim: what happened to the promise of the Maggid? And the Chavetz Chaim says, anyone who asks this question, you can't explain it to them. And anyone who knows doesn't need explanation. I feel like that about a lot of things. But about this thing, the Chavetz Chaim told Rabbi Chanan, if you're asking, you won't understand. And if you understand, you don't need to be explained. Rabbi Weintraub explains, what is Mesiras Nefesh? Is giving up your life through a clarity that nothing in this world is a reality except for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So what difference does it make if that comes to an end in a fire or on your bed? If it comes from the clarity of understanding that there's nothing in this world other than HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then lo mishaneh, doesn't matter whether it's al mitasai or be'esh.
Having kabbalah for the others who are...
You know, you mean, yeah, that's, to bail out somebody else. But what did the Maggid mean when he told the Beis Yosef, you're going to die al Kiddush Hashem? Okay. So now, let's talk about the attitude of the Gedolei Yisrael toward Reb Shlomo Molcho. Last week we learned that Reb Chaim Vital had vehement critique against Reb Shlomo Molcho for using Kabbalah Masas. Remember that? Shlomo Molcho said Reb Chaim Vital said because he used Kabbalah Masas, he was his life was taken from him. Now, does that mean that he's disqualifying him? As we're going to see, many Gedolim refer to Reb Shlomo Molcho, and they all refer to him with reverence. One of the classic commentaries on the Medrash is Matnas Kahuna. He says on the pasuk in Shiurim, I believe Doime Doidi Litzvi. He says after great investigation, I didn't find any hint to explain this maimar, only in the kuntris of Hakadosh Reb Shlomo Molcho. So he calls him a Kadosh. Now, does that mean he's a tzaddik? At least he's a Kadosh. What is Kadosh? Why is he called a Kadosh? Probably because he gave up his life on Kiddush Hashem. Does the fact that he created this messianic fervor in any way disqualify what he taught? Many Gedolim quote Chidushim from Reb Shlomo Molcho. So at least in this case, it does not seem that even though they didn't agree with his activities, it does not seem to have disqualified what he taught. So, for instance, in the Sefer Charedim of Rabbi Eliezer Askiri, you know who Rabbi Eliezer Askiri is? Rabbi Eliezer Askiri wrote, Yedid Nefesh. Now, he didn't write that tune. That tune was Yossi Green. Yeah? But the words Rabbi Eliezer Askiri wrote, Yedid Nefesh of Harachaman. And he says, by the way, did you give tzedakah today? Bring me the tzedakah box. You know what you're supposed to do on a tainus? The ikr mitzvah on a tainus is tzedakah. Probably more than I just put in, but at least that's good for starters. Yeah? Why tzedakah? The Sefer Charedim says, tshuva is Rashi Tevos. Tainus, sak, Va'efer b'chi hesped. You know what repentance is? Fasting, sackcloth, ashes, crying, eulogy. Now, a tainus needs tzedakah. Says Rav Shlomo Molcho, you know what tainus means? Taste ani. Give to the poor. Tainus, where does the word tainus come from? It comes from the Masechta. Oh, yeah. Well, where does that word come from? Taste ani. Tough, ani. Hey, it actually works out. You have the two tufts on the front and the back, and ani in the middle. So that's what you do on a tainus. Who says this? The Charedim quotes Hakadosh Rabbeinu Shlomo Molcho, the Paradise Rimonim of the Ramak. The Paradise Rimonim of the Ramak quotes the Chidush of Rav Shlomo Molcho. He says, "Ve'efshar hayos nekudos elu kenekudos ha'oisiyos shekei nikar oisiyos obreshus kasher ramaznam le'el v'shamanu oimrim shadvarim elu heim divrei hachasid hachacham Rav Shlomo Molcho." Now, I'm going to tell you one more Dvar Torah about Rav Shlomo Molcho, and I'm going to save the grand finale for a different time. I'm going to tease you even longer. Okay?
Did he ever actually say who's going to be Mashiach? What was his teachings?
Because these guys came from where? Williamsburg, Borough Park. I want them to come back. So maybe no, only twice. We got it. We got to get to the finish line. You'll have to get the clip. But anyway, I want to share with you. Look at number 14.
Did he ever say who Mashiach is?
Last week we brought some sources that he said that it was him.
So he himself. But don't we know that Mashiach comes from either from Yosef, from David's law?
I don't know. You want to know? Did we do a Dar Yesharim test on him? I don't know.
Or from Yosef. Look
at number 14. The Kavayasha says, "V'Yakov nasa sukaisa, va'yivin loibayis, ulamekneu asa sukais. Al kein kar shem amakim sukais." We know minhagam shel Yisrael Torah. Whatever our minhag is, it's Torah. So we know that after Yom Kippur, what's the first thing we do? We build a sukkah. Why do we build a sukkah right after Yom Kippur? Says the Kavayashar. Kavayashar quotes the drashas of Rav Shlomo Molcho, Zechronim Levracha. He says, why do we build a sukkah right after Yom Kippur? Why don't we take Daled Minim? Why don't we, why don't we give tzedakah? There are many mitzvahs you could do. Says Rav Shlomo Molcho, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded us on Yom Kippur, Sar Echad Lashem, Sar Echad Lazazal. And the Kohen Gadol was misvada on the Sa'ir, and he sent it la'azazel over the cliff, like it says, V'nasa asar alabas kal avay noisam. And that was a big kapar for Klal Yisrael. So therefore we like to mimic that. So what do? On Yom Kippur, it says, Vayashav Esav ledarkoi se'ira, and then V'Yakov nasa sukoisa. So that's a remez, that after Esav, who's the hairy man, travels to Seir, and we're makriv the carbon la'azazel, so Yaakov goes to Sukkos, and we start to build the sukkah. So the mitzvah of building the sukkah right after Yom Kippur is because we find that after Esav leaves, we go to Sukkos. So too on Yom Kippur, after we bring the Sar la'azazel, so too we then bring the sukkah. Okay, fine. I'll give you the grand finale. You ready? The Tosfos Yom Tif wrote commentary on the Rosh. The Rosh in Hilchos Ketanos, Hilchos Tzitzis, the Tosfos Yom Tif writes that before he became the Abbezin in Prague, he used to daven in the big shul in Prague. In the big shul in Prague, in the shul is the tzitzis of Rabbi Shlomo Molcho. What color was it? It was first of all made out of silk. It was green like the yellow of an egg. The tzitzis were silk, like the yellow of the egg. In other words, Rav Shlomo Molcho's tcheles was green, not blue. And the flag of Rav Shlomo Molcho is in the shul in Prague. So you could go today to the shul in Prague, and most tour guides will tell you one story or another about the flag over there, if it's still there, and what it has to do with Shlomo Molcho. And you'll see over there the kittel of Rav Shlomo Molcho. You have a picture of it on your sheets, which was in the shul in Prague, as described by the Tosfos Yom Tif. By the way, the Tosfos Yom Tif also describes when he saw the tzitzis of Rav Shlomo Molcho, there was no knot at the top of the tzitzis. Now, there's still more to talk about, and maybe we'll speak about it more at length at another time. But in the Hakdama to the Sefer, Chayas Kana, which is the book of the visions of Shlomo Molcho, 9 reasons are given by Rabbi Glatstein why Rabbi Shlomo Molcho should not be categorized among what we call the Mashiachei Sheker. And he gives many, many reasons for that. One of them is the Beis Yosef held him in great esteem. Many Gedolim that we just quoted held him in great esteem. And he was the Rebbe of Rabbi Yosef Taitachik in Kabbalah. And the main reason is, while other false Mashiachs caused Klal Yisrael to go away and to divert and to leave the observance of mitzvahs, and they distorted Torah, Rabbi Shlomo Molcho only encouraged the observance of Torah mitzvahs in all ways. And in the Haskama of the Sefer, Mashiachei Sheker, Umisnagdeim, Rabbi Shlomo Volba writes that he was very moved by the Sefer. It made a big roishim on him. He says how careful we have to be from premature Messianic fervor. And he says, most of the Mashiachs in history, Rubam Bale Chaloimois, Chulaniim Oishakraniim. Most of them were just dreamers, or worse, with the exception of Shlomo Molcho. He says he was a Baal Lev Tahar. So that's how he's categorized by Rav Shlomo Molcho. We have many of his Divrei Torah recorded in various Sfarim of the Achronim. We said over many of them tonight, and this will give you a better understanding of the times that he lived in, from 1300 to 1332. That is the life and times of HaKadosh Shlomo Molcho. And I wish everybody, we should be Zoicha, Tzayim Haravi, Yeh LeBeis Yehuda, L'Sasayin U'Lesimcha. Ruch Hanani Ben HaKadosh Omer, Ratzah HaKadosh Baruch Hu, L'Zakas Yisrael, L'Fikach Chibam Termitz Hashanemar.